One of the best parts about working as a Photopass photographer at Walt Disney World was the special moments, the sentimental moments, moments you'd see that would just make you cry sometimes. I absolutely loved my time as a Photopass photographer, and I got to see some of the coolest moments as a photographer get to take the pictures while they were happening. There were a number of times that I found myself shedding tears behind the lens, and I'd say it'd been a good day if I'd cried behind the camera at least once. There were a couple kinds of moments that I could expect on a regular basis, and then there were a couple that were just out of the ordinary that would just blow you away when you got to see it. One of the things I got to experience and watch a few times as a photographer was marriage proposals. Now people are used to having the Photopass photographers there, and they think about having the photographers oftentimes when they're trying to get their marriage proposal in place. But at the time I was there, Photopass was still pretty new. There was still a lot of skepticism about it, and so we oftentimes weren't thought about when people were getting ready to propose. We had to keep our eyes open and be ready, and if we saw one or heard one, we had to be on the move quick because it happened suddenly and we didn't get warning and it was a surprise. I didn't get to shoot that many proposals, but I got a few. I can remember one. I was actually working on the Castle Hub over on the right side, kind of towards Tomorrowland and the other bridge that leads you kind of around behind the castle to Fantasyland. I was actually on the hub area shooting people in front of the planters that were there in the castle, and all of a sudden I hear somebody yell, "He's gonna propose!" Red flag warning on the photographer's part. Okay, I need to go catch that, now! And I remember trying to scan the card and give it to the people. Excuse me, I gotta go get this. And you're trying to run. You're holding your gear, which means you're holding your camera with your right hand ready to shoot. We also had PDAs, which I typically carried on my right side. And that meant I'm also trying to hold my PDA, but my right hand's got the camera so I could shoot if I need to, which means I'm running like this and trying to keep everything from flashing and banging and slamming. All I know is it's up at the front. And so I'm making a mad dash to the front of the castle. Where is it? Where is it? And actually managed to see him and got to start shooting and get a few pictures of the proposal. Caught him right when he was still on his knees and she hadn't said yes yet, and she did say yes. But it was kind of a mad dash, helter-skelter, go catch it while you still have the chance. Well, as people got more used to Photopass, they began to think a little bit more in terms of using the photographers for the proposals. There was a later time when, again, I was shooting on Main Street with the castle shot, had this young couple that had obviously been dating. They're standing there and I pose for a couple pictures and get ready to start doing the candid shots, the creative ones, get him in something different. And he looks at me and says, "Hey, I've got an idea for a pose. Can I try something?" "Absolutely, let's go for it." At which point he then drops down on one knee and proceeds to propose to her. Whoa, this is cool. And so I begin to shoot a nice, easy proposal. I liked when they happened. We would have those fairly often over at the Rose Garden too when it was still there. And I had a very similar experience there with a young couple. They were probably early 20s, young. I wish I was that young still. Again, the same kind of thing where, "Hey, I have an idea for a picture. Can I try this?" He looks at her and says, "Would it be okay if I just kind of pretended to propose to you?" And she kind of looks like, "Oh, brother, here we go." So he's acting like he's going to propose, and she's pretending. Well, in the midst of this play proposal, he brings out the actual ring, and the expression on her face was just absolutely priceless, where she went from kind of going to... It was wonderful. Just a fun moment. Possibly the best proposal I got to do, though, was actually when I was shooting with Mickey Mouse one time. This couple is standing there, and as they're talking to Mickey, he asks Mickey, "Mickey, why haven't you ever proposed to Minnie?" And Mickey kind of does his little routine about why, and then Mickey looks at them and says, "What about you two?" And the guy goes, "You know what? That's a good idea." And proceeds to reach into his pocket and pulls out the ring and goes down on one knee. Mickey is flabbergasted. Mickey's actually standing there just... shaking like, oh my goodness, I can't believe they're doing this right in front of me. Just a great moment. She says yes. Mickey starts celebrating. So we get pictures of them with Mickey hugging both of them. Then Mickey showing the ring. And just a really cool moment. Pretty much everybody that was in that room was, tears in the eyes. That was just really cool. We would see a lot of newlyweds as well at the park. Newlyweds were easy to recognize. They would come in and oftentimes they would have matching ears, matching shirts, groom, bride, and all sorts of other things that would give it away. You'd have, of course, the engagement, happily ever after buttons. They would change them occasionally. But even if they didn't have those, you could always spot newlyweds. I have to laugh because when my wife and I were newlyweds and we had taken a day out in Southern California to go down to Tijuana, and as we were walking down the street, everybody kept yelling at us, "Newlyweds, come here!" And my wife and I were just utterly shocked. How on earth do they know that we're newlyweds? We don't get it. Now that I got a few years on me, duh. They're easy to spot because they generally can't seem to let go of each other, and they're holding tight and cuddling and squeezing and so excited that they're finally together. And so it was easy to spot them, and it made it very easy to be able to do some extra pictures that I like to do with the newlyweds. Characters loved it when they would get newlyweds. Many of them would want pictures with the rings, and especially when you would have the mice and the ducks, and that you would get these great pictures with them holding their hands out with the rings so you could see the wedding bands. They loved to be able to do special poses with the people. That was always really fun when you would get the newlyweds in and they would be celebrating, and especially if you could get a couple of the characters together like Minnie and Mickey or Daisy and Donald, and those rare times you would catch them together, we would get some of the best poses. We love to recreate the proposal. We would love to recreate the wedding as it was. I did a couple where Mickey played the minister and he was kind of standing there like this while they were... It was just a fun extra little pose. We just loved stuff like that. Possibly one of the most special moments I had was one I had no clue was coming. In fact, nobody I was taking a picture of knew it was coming except for one person. I was shooting pictures of this family on Main Street. There's probably 10 to 15 of them. It was a pretty good-sized family. They were out there just having a great time. One of the things that we watched for as photographers was photo bombers. You didn't want people in the background doing stuff that would just make the picture wrong. So you didn't want anybody behind them making weird faces or rude gestures. So you were constantly watching the sides of the family to make sure that you didn't catch that. Well, so I've got this family all posed, they're arranged, they're looking good in front of the castle, and this man comes walking up behind, young man, mid-20s, maybe 30, close cropped hair and everything, and just walks right up to the middle of the family in the back. And I'm thinking to myself, this guy's not just photobombing the picture, he's really putting himself into the middle of it. And normally, that would be our cue to stop shooting and find out what the deal is. Something told me this wasn't that time. I went ahead and I shot a couple others. Vertical pictures of the castle, took a couple horizontal pictures of the castle. Like I said, just something triggered, and I said, okay, everybody, let's do something a little bit different. Let's pretend that there's a line in the middle, and I want everybody to turn towards the center and kind of look towards each other. Hoping that my instinct was right and that this wasn't just some really weird guy that had walked up. Instincts paid off. Turns out this gentleman was a member of the family they hadn't seen in a while. I think he was military, but I don't know. But as soon as they all started to turn towards the middle, all of a sudden they start screaming and jumping and yelling, "Oh my goodness!" And very obviously a reunion of some sort, and just a really, really cool moment to be a part of. We would also get to take part sometimes in things that people didn't expect. One of the really neat moments that we had for a while at Magic Kingdom, Cinderella for a while was doing a special meet and greet at the back of Expo Hall. It was an unannounced one, it wasn't on the schedule. She actually would have a couple people that would be out in front of the building, watching for families, watching for kids in princess dresses, because at the time Cinderella wasn't meeting anybody. And it was fun because they would look for people. Do you have a few minutes? I've got a special character meet and greet. Would like to know if you'd like to come in and just meet this character. They especially liked finding princesses, whether it was little girls in princess outfits or occasionally you would get older ones. I was in there shooting pictures. This one time they had brought in a older couple, it was probably in their 60s. And I don't know how they found these people, but they pull back this curtain, and I'm standing kind of on the side looking where they walk in, and Cinderella is actually standing over here. I'm kind of in between so I could get the picture of them as they walk in. And as the curtain pulls back, the older lady looks up and just goes and starts to cry. And I'm just taking pictures. She just utterly loses it because it's Cinderella. And apparently, again, I don't know how they figured it out, but this was her favorite character and who she loved. And I don't know all the circumstances and the stories. I could start to fill in, and first time at Disney maybe. I don't know all the details, but I know that this was an incredible moment for her. And Cinderella actually had to come over and take her by the hand and pull her over to where she was actually supposed to be posing for the pictures, with this lady just losing it. And of course then I start losing it because I'm a weepy crybaby and stuff like that. It was just neat moments. We would see more older couples that had never been to Disney or hadn't been to Disney since they were kids. And I would see moments like that on a regular basis, that they would encounter their favorite character or the character they had dreamed of. Whether it was Mickey, who was most often, but I would see it with Donald, with Cinderella, with Snow White a lot. Just made for these incredible moments that when you see somebody meet this character they've been dreaming of, and here they were. So those are some of my favorite moments as a photographer, the ones that would make me cry behind the lens. Did you have great moments like that at the parks? I'd love to hear your stories. Please don't hesitate to share them with me. Lots of room in the comments below, or you can even do it on my Facebook page. Check that out. There's a link in the description, or on Reddit or other places. There's all sorts of information in the description about those. Thank you so much for liking the video, for sharing the video. Please don't hesitate to share it. Put the word out. Let them see and share their stories as well. And if you haven't subscribed yet, well, goodness, hit that subscribe button already. Thank you too to my patrons for supporting me. I love to be able to get videos out in the parks, and the way that happens is with the financial support of my patrons. So thank you so much to my patrons. If you want to know more about Patreon, check the link below. Thank you so very much for watching, and God bless. One of the ones that we got kind of towards Tomorrowland and Fantasy, yeah. And you're trying to run, and you're holding your cameras and trying to hold it so that you can always had to get a picture. Was Cinderella would actually be at the back of the Grand Palace, not the Grand Palace. Ooh, okay. Grand Expo. There we go. Is that right, or is that the place at Silver Dollar City? Oh my goodness. Expo Hall. There we go. Okay, I can't remember where I am. If you'd like to know about my merchandise, fan pages, and more, be sure to check the description below. If you'd like to know whenever I've got a new video posted, well, make sure you hit that button right up there and subscribe. If you'd like to watch another one of my videos, I've got a great one for you right here. And if you'd like to be like these wonderful people here and support me financially on Patreon, well, make sure you check the link right there. There's even some extra perks for them. Thank you so much, and God bless.